welcome back to another episode of the group chat. Back in studio this time, Mount Smart. The groundsmen weren't too happy with us, so we're back here. Goran, you're still in Auckland. I'm back in Wellington. Good to have you back, mate. How you doing?
I'm really well, Charlie. Good to see your face again. Nice to hear that you survived the trip to Auckland. But then again, you would have survived the trip to Auckland because you were masquerading as a Black Knights fan in that black and blue shirt of yours on Saturday. So, nice to be here with you again. And gosh, Christmas is closing in, isn't it? How are you getting on with your Christmas tree and all the decorations in your household?
Yeah, so I've got my Christmas calendar, my
advent calendar.
Yeah, I still run those. The Cadbury one, the Cadbury little chocolates are good. So
nice.
I haven't done this morning's one, but I tend to do it when I get home and like a little afternoon snack.
Little treat.
A little treat after the day's work. But no Christmas tree put up yet. And I realized it yesterday, and I felt quite sad about it. Usually we have the Christmas tree up December 1st. Decorations on, and we're in the spirit. But because I smelt the pine, we had a pine candle burning yesterday, and I was like, "Hang on, where is our Christmas tree?" Came to the realization that my mother nor my sister have put it up, so it's still yet to be put up.
Well, I mean, you could take the responsibility and put it up yourself, but put the Christmas tree up. Don't put it up yourself. I mean, that would be horrible. What a dreadful experience that'd be. My Christmas tree is erect. We usually we go local and buy like a pine tree and bring it into the house and adorn it with all of our decorations. But this year we had where I live, we've got this little embankment, and there are 3 pine trees growing in there, and they're just sort of like in their infancy. And I thought, stuff it, we'll just chop one of those down and bring it into the house. And like from far away, they look quite small, but then up close, you realize how massive they are. And so I'm trudging through all of this flax and cabbage trees to get to this pine tree. I'd cut it down with a saw, but then it falls in a fairly precarious spot where I've got to try and drag it out of all of the flax and all of the cabbage trees. I'm getting cut to buggery. Like, it looks like I've harmed myself. I've got like cuts all over myself. I managed to get it out. It's huge. It's enormous. We try and chop it down, but now it doesn't look anything like a Christmas tree. It's supposed to look like that, and it's just all over the place. To make matters worse, my wife has terrible hay fever at this time of the year, which has been made a million times worse by bringing a pine tree into the house. So now that it's up, we're going to have to take it out, get rid of it, and get a plastic one instead. So debacle all round.
So you're binning it. Did you get the decorations on before you decided to throw on the towel?
Decorations on. We've got lights. We've got the star on the top. I'm looking at it right now. We've got a couple of Smith & Coe baubles. We always take the kids to get their picture with Santa every year at Smith & Coe in a town. And there are baubles all over it. There's a cat. There's a pukeko. They're all coming down. It's all coming off, and we're going plastic instead. So really gutted about it, actually. It's kind of like a family tradition where we get the tree in and do it like this. But if the hay fever persists, then we've just got to move on.
Have you always done a real pine tree?
No, it was something that my wife sort of instituted for our little family, and now she's the one who's responsible for ending it all.
So she started it. I guess she has the rights to put an end to it too then.
And that's what's happening, yeah. So
that's my issue as well. I love the pine trees. I love the smell. But my hay fever is terrible.
Just take some meds, mate. Just like dose up massively.
Yeah, I try. And sometimes it just doesn't work. But for me, I try put up with it because I think having a real Christmas tree is just all part of it. But I say that, I don't think I've had a real Christmas tree for the last 3-4 years, potentially. So, I'm pretty impressed, though. You actually trudged out yourself, you cut down the tree, dragged it back in. That's real manly man stuff.
Yeah, and people would say I'm not a manly man, like a little bit of a light touch, if you like, and or a soft touch. And yeah, to get out there, put the boots on, get topless, and
it
get
was a hot day.
Yeah, it was steaming hot.
Harriga.
And had the shoulders and guns out, and got the saw out. You just feel so manly in those moments. And that was Saturday before the football game, right? And here we are on a Tuesday. It's barely lasted 4 days.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe I should have just put the saw in the shed and just gone off to Kmart.
Well, I think the experience of feeling like a real man is probably worth it.
Yeah, that's my Christmas present this year, eh? Like, finally, after a long year of just being a limp dick, I finally, became a man that Saturday morning.
Pinocchio being like, I'm a real boy now. You cut down your Christmas tree with the saw. I'm a real man now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Who else can say that this Christmas?
No, I can't.
Nobody. Yeah, you can't.
No, our Christmas tree's not even up. Alrighty. How was the rest of your weekend?
It was good, man. I survived the Wellington Phoenix ordeal, we'll call it. And in terms of the best moments of the weekend, even though the Phoenix lost to the Black Knights, Auckland FC, that was a really special occasion. It was awesome being there, watching the game, watching the fans interact. That was a real highlight for me. Another highlight would be Chris Wood scoring again and becoming outright Nottingham Forest's top goal scorer ever in the English Premier League, and scoring at Old Trafford. Say what you like about Man United. They are one of the biggest clubs in the world, despite where they sit currently on the English Premier League table. To go there, score a goal, get the win, that's absolutely magic for Woodsy. Yep. And then, even though the Black Caps...
As well?
What's that, mate?
Chris Wood's 30th birthday, maybe?
Yeah, birthday time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about people with birthdays coming up when we talk cricket. But another key moment for me was actually doing well with one of the bets that I placed, and that was Nathan Smith picking up, 4 wickets in the first innings, and I had a 3+ wickets bet in that first innings of the second test. So even though the Black Caps sucked, I got the win with Mr. Smith.
Yeah, Nathan Smith didn't suck. He got the job done for you. He got the job done for me, but the other half for me, Rutch and Ravindra couldn't get the 30+ runs I needed for my one to come in. My top moments, like you, was that Auckland FC Phoenix game, but I'm going to dive a little bit more into it, and it was more you getting into the port and me going into the yellow fever. Those were two experiences that you wouldn't have been able to get in New Zealand until this rivalry, this derby game, and then to put on the enemy's shirt per se and go into their territory. The heart was racing.
Yeah.
The heart rate definitely got up. But that was one of the top moments for me. Tom Blundell's 115 off 102. Like you said, Nathan Smith, standout performer for you and your profitability wise. But good to see Tom Blundell and the runs playing more like England's brand of cricket, a bit of baseball in there, over 100 strike rate. It's probably the only good thing to come from that. And then the F1 wrapped up over the weekend in Abu Dhabi, and McLaren take out the Constructors' Championship for the first time in 26 years, I think, 1998. And so if we dig back to McLaren's roots, we're in a bit of Kiwi heritage in that. So up Bruce McLaren and the New Zealanders.
And just going back to Tom Blundell, I feel like his century was almost like a massive FU to me, who had roundly poo-pooed him and said what I think the question I asked you was why is he even in there? Yeah. And then he's the only guy to stand up with the bat. So kudos to you, Tom Blundell, and long may that kind of form continue, because the batting in the first 2 tests for New Zealand has been it's been lacking somewhat, hasn't it?
Yeah. It definitely has been. There's been no spark, really. I think against an English team, you could score 300, 350, and it's no issues for them, because, like we saw, they were 70 for 4 in the first dig, and then they come out and Harry Brook bats how Harry Brook does, and England don't shy away from it. They just play fearless cricket, and they dominate us.
Yeah, if you were to ask me what the difference was between the two sides, the batting is it's front and center, because as you say, I think in the first test, was it they were 4 for 70, but before that they were 3 for 45. They were on the ropes after New Zealand had scored 300 odd, and the batting allowed them to get out of that hole, and not only get out of the hole, but put on a first innings lead. And again, when you highlight the batting effort at the Basin Reserve in the second test, across 2 innings, New Zealand only realised 140 runs, and that's their lowest ever total as a top 5 since the year 2000 in a home test.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like it's basically, England have this, cavalier approach no matter what the scenario, and it pays dividends. And New Zealand, they just went into their shell and they weren't able to score runs. And maybe it was because they picked the wrong side. Leaving out Will Young was, in hindsight, and hindsight's always 20/20, right, Charlie? But like on the back of the Indian series, where he is named the player of the series in a series that was dominated by the ball, they've given it to a batsman who averaged, something like 48 across that 3-test series. They win it 3-0. And then he's not in the first 2 tests against England at home. Like that's nonsensical to me. I don't know what Gary Stead and his selection crew are thinking, but surely his selection in that side, it would be guaranteed after that kind of performance against India away from home.
Yeah, you'd think so. And I mean, now we've lost the series, and we go up to Hamilton for the 3rd and final test. They've brought in Mark Chapman. I don't know if you've seen that. So Devon Conway sitting out, awaiting the birth of his first child. So he's not going to play. That's a funny way of saying he's been dropped. But they've brought in Mark Chapman, and I think he's going to play ahead of Will Young, potentially.
Seriously?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he scored 270 for Auckland in a Plunket Shield match last week, so he could be in a bit of a purple patch. 270 is no fluke. But he's not.
But you're talking about domestic cricket versus international cricket. Like the cauldron that is going to India and performing like Will Young did versus, a bit of first-class cricket action here in little old New Zealand. Like, please, they don't compare, do they? Surely you're the cricketer out of the 2 of us, mate. Like, who would you feel more comfortable with going into this 3rd test, Will Young or Mark Chapman?
Yeah, no, I want Will Young in that.
Game, everybody wants Will Young.
I think, if you're an opening bowler for England and they come out to open the batting, I don't even know if Mark Chapman would open the batting, but I think he was batting 3 for Auckland. But if you're an opening bowler for England and you're bowling at Latham and either Will Young or Mark Chapman, they would be licking their lips to be bowling at Mark Chapman over Will Young, for sure. I would if I was them.
Let's put our selectors caps on for the 3rd test then, because there's no Devon Conway. He's expecting the birth of a child, right? So he's gone.
Yeah.
I'm wondering whether you put Ravindra at the top of the order with Tom Latham, and then Will Young just slots in behind Kane Williamson. He bats 4.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, your top 5 is looking a lot stronger, and you think that maybe across 2 innings, you're going to score a few more than 140, as they did in the Basin Reserve test.
Yeah, I mean, Rachin Ravindra has been an opener his whole life. When he first started playing for the Firebirds, he was opening the batting at 19, 20 years old, and obviously had some success. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been in the Black Caps. And then he came in at number 7. I think he has opened for the Black Caps as well, and maybe in white ball format too. So he's got the talent there. His technique is pretty solid. So I wouldn't be opposed to having him opening the batting with Tom Latham. And they don't care about having 2 left-handers at the top either. We've shown that with Conway.
Yeah.
So, but again, Rachin has performed very well in that middle order too. So I like your thinking though.
Thanks, mate. I put some serious thought into that.
Yeah, well, if we were trying to fit Will Young into the team, it makes sense to have him at 4 there and Rachin opening. No Mark Chapman, I'm assuming?
No. He's just there as cover.
What about Tim Southee? So it's obviously his last test at his home ground. Is he playing? Does he deserve to play? He's struggled this series, but because the series is done and dusted, I mean, there's not a lot on the line. Do you just give him it to bow out as he wants to, or does he sit?
Yeah. So earlier we talked about Chris Wood and how he scored a birthday goal against Man United at Old Trafford. It's Tim Southee's birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Tim. So everything is sort of like, it's lining up in his favour, right? It's his birthday. He's playing his final test at his home ground, which he knows very well and he loves so much. But I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be that that says, sorry, Tim, after, 16, 17 years of service, I think we've got to move on, and you don't play this test. You've got, like, I want to see the Black Cap selectors be ruthless and say, sorry, mate, like what you've done hasn't been good enough. And when you look at 2024 in isolation, he's taken 15 wickets across 10 tests at an average of 62, Charlie. Like, you don't need to be Einstein to figure out that is not up to standard. And we're talking about a guy, and like I'll forever be in debt to Tim Southee for what he's done for the Black Caps and New Zealand on the international cricket scene, because like you don't play that much cricket and take that many wickets if you're an average player. But I just feel in the tail end of his career, in the twilight of his cricketing days, he's not best representing himself, and therefore the nation as a result of that. And so it's an opportunity for somebody else. I hope they take the approach that it's not a dead rubber. It's a chance to beat England in your own conditions. And so to do that, pick the best possible side. Go with Ravindra at the top of the order. Put Will Young in at 4, and then sub Tim Southee out for your spinner. And I'd love to say that it's Ajaz Patel, but unfortunately he's not in the squad, so it's got to be Mitch Santner. So the Santner clause comes in in the final test before Christmas.
About Christmas time. So I like what you're saying. I think I totally agree. If we want to put out our best chance to beat England, because we go from sweeping India in their backyard to then being swept in our backyard. That's fucking chalk and cheese. It's you can't be sweeping it, and it makes us look like that was a fluke in India. And if they want to prove it was not, we got to go out here and win this test match, despite not being able to make the World Test Championship final. We can't win the series, so. And I mean, you got to get a result in your own backyard. So for me, Southee doesn't play either, but I do think Gary Stead will play him. I do think he will.
Because much like me, before the Christmas tree experience on Saturday morning, he's a soft touch as well. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's he needs a bit of baseball in him, which I think baseball is more than just going out and hitting hard and taking it to the bowlers. It's actually the whole mindset of being a ruthless competitor from your coach at the top, making the selections you need to make. Whereas Stead, he's playing Gazball. He's just scared. He doesn't want to make the changes. He doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. You know, it's going to be a farewell tour for Southee. So, and I get it. He's done his time, and he's like you were saying, he's provided 16, 17 years of service to New Zealand cricket at the highest level, always performing. But we need to win this game, and he's not a match winner for us.
And you say that Gary Stead doesn't make the changes, but he has made the changes, you know, like from the Indian series to the English series, he left out Will Young. He left out Ajaz Patel. And, you know, I'm sure there are reasons for it, like performing in subcontinent conditions versus performing in our own conditions. But then you've got to realise something, that the reason that they're selected to play for New Zealand is that they've performed in New Zealand conditions in the first place. So don't pigeonhole them as like subcontinent specialists in the case of Ajaz Patel. If he's taking wickets locally, domestically, then he's your best spinner, right? Like just put him in there. And I would back Patel over Santner any day of the week. And I suppose it comes back to like what kind of additional value can someone bring to the team? Maybe that's the line of thinking that Stead's taking. Santner, if you play him as your spinner, you're more than likely to get a few bonus runs down the tail order, right? Because they frame him as an all-rounder. Well, get your top 5, top 6 score in the runs, and have your bowlers taking the wickets, and that's how you win a cricket game.
Yeah. No point taking, 6-7 all-rounders, because, I mean, you've got Glenn Phillips as your spinner, batter, all-rounder. Rachin can bowl as well. He's got his left-arm tweakers. So I think, I mean, he's played less than 5 tests in New Zealand? But
that's absurd.
I know. And after he took that 10 wickets, however many years ago, and there was a big call for him to be in the team back here, and then nothing.
Yeah,
absolutely nothing.
He goes from taking 11 wickets in India to not playing the next Test match. It's a joke. And try and explain that to the casual Black Caps observer as well. Like, how you can leave out Will Young and how you can leave out Ajaz Patel for the next Test. It'd be like if Chris Wood scored a hat trick for Nottingham Forest and then he was left out the next day. Like, what?
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense. I think the Will Young is Kane Williamson came back in, so that was your straight swap. But you got to find a way to work him into the team. And I think when guys are in poor form, like your Blunder was or your Conway is, I think the mindset they take on is we keep playing them until they find form, because the only way they get back into form is by playing more cricket. So Conway's one innings away from being back into form. Blundell, he's just had his 1 innings. Maybe he is back in form now. So it might be a theory that works, and they just keep sticking to what they've got until they come back into form. But it just feels like it's a perfect chance now to, especially with Conway not being available for selection, throw some guys in, see if these guys are up to standard in New Zealand, which you and I both feel like they're tried and tested and know they should be up to standard. And I just think we got to go out there and play without fear and actually make those decisions first with the selections and what our team looks like, and then go out there to not just play cricket. Like we kind of just went through the motions at that test at the Basin. You go out there to win. So it just felt like we haven't been doing that in these 2 tests.
Yeah, well, first of all, you got to pick the right side to set yourself up for victory. And I think in summary, Charlie, we need to see Ravindra at the top of the order in place of Conway, Young in at 4, and then Southee is dropped and he doesn't get the opportunity to say farewell at Seddon Park. But, that's just, the way the cookie crumbles. That's when a coach and a selection staff are doing what's right for the group. So let's see it. I'll be very disappointed if come the morning of the first test, I see that starting 11, the first 11, and Southee's in there.
I think his name will be on there. That's my only issue. I mean, like you're saying, the coaches and selection staff, they got to do their job. They get paid to do what's best for the team. But unfortunately, I don't think they will be.
All right.
So, over the ditch, Australia, India. I don't know. Did you see much of that test match?
Not a great deal. Not a great deal, if I'm being honest. I mean, I've seen the explosion between Indian bowler and Australian batsman, which I'm sure you're going to talk more about now.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I just felt from a weird point of view, I was seeing Travis Head, who Sriraj, the Indian bowler, actually dropped him early on in his innings, and then decided to toss up a whole bunch of medium meat pies, which Travis Head just pumped all around the ground, scoring 140. And then he finally gets him out and gives him one of the biggest send-offs from an Indian bowler you would have seen. I'm sure we can say the words, but I'm not sure if I'm going to, just to save it being bleeped out by our editor. But,
right, okay.
He definitely told him to get back to the changing room in a few different ways. And I think Travis Head bit back as well. In a press conference, said he didn't bite back, but if anyone's out there as a professional lip reader, you could see he definitely bit back. I don't know, how do you feel about the Australians playing a bit of victim, or just being like, why are they coming at me, when they are the ones usually dishing out all the send-offs?
Yeah, it feels a little bit ironic, really, when this is the same nation that's given us the likes of Brad Haddon, Davey Dum Dum, Glenn McGrath, Mitchell Johnson, Michael Clark, who captained Australia for a while, told Jimmy Anderson to get ready for a broken effing arm. You know, like this is in their history. You know, they constantly sledging, but taking it way too far as well. And so now you've got an approach where maybe they're taking the what do they call it? Elite honesty route, where they're trying to play nice. And it doesn't wash with me because it's not part of the fabric of Australian cricket. Like deep down, they just want to rip into the verbals all day, every day. And then all of a sudden, you've got this guy who gives it to Travis Head, rightly or wrongly, on 140. Like, as you said, man, he's been tonking him everywhere. Yeah. It's probably not the right time to rip in, but he did. I actually don't mind it. I don't mind it. It draws your attention to the game. As long as it's not anything like hugely personal. Like, there have been some really disgusting sledges reported over the years in cricket, and people having a crack at, sick wives or deceased family members and things like that. Like that is going way too far over the line.
Boundary, and then that's way past it.
Yeah. Like that's horrific stuff. You do not touch things like that. But if it's just a bit of F off, mate, or whatever, like, what's wrong with that in the heat of the moment? I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, I think if it was an Australian doing that, the media's all over it. It's the passion, it's the fire behind it. But as soon as the bowlers do it, there's 55,000 fans at the Adelaide Oval, just giving him death stares, essentially. But he gave it back. He is a hell of a death stare, Sriaj. Holy. There's a couple of photos and he is fired up. So, heat of the moment, you get the guy out on 140 after he's hit you around the park. I mean, it's probably just letting out some frustration. But yeah, I like it. I think it's good for the series. It's now 1-1 after India just collapsed on day 3. I don't think it made day 4. It was looking like it was going to make day 4, but I actually fell asleep Saturday night watching the cricket because it is a day-night test. I watched them at the tea break go out to the back of the Adelaide Oval where all the fans are, the party zone, and it looked a bit of fun. I was like, yeah, I want to get there. And then all I saw was darkness, and turned the TV back on when I woke up, and the cricket was done.
Wow. What a story, Charlie. Thanks for sharing, mate. That was exceptional.
So that was my Saturday night after the football.
Yeah.
Should we get into the football then?
Let's do it, mate. Let's do it.
All right. So Auckland obviously win again. Now the emphasis on they've taken the W from Wellington. It's now 2 hours. So I believe it is Ellington still all in lowercase apart from the 2 hours.
Makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. What do the Phoenix need to do to beat Auckland? We're asking the fans. Did anyone help you out?
Nobody helped me out. And by that stage, after the game, I think a lot of people were tired and had a few too many drinks. They were well lubricated. So there weren't, a great deal of people that were offering advice. What do they need to do? I suppose they need to be more clinical and more accurate in the final third. Like when you look at the stats coming out of that game, it was a great game, but they sort of split possession, split passes, shots on target were about the same, but they just weren't producing the volume of chances that Auckland did. I think it was something like 20 shots to 4 or 20 shots to 5 in favour of Auckland FC. So they need to be more creative and create more chances in the final third. And then the other one is, and I don't know how you do this, but get a bit more confidence in Josh Aloiemi in goal, because like we saw it in the first Kiwi derby where he tried to play out and Jake Brimmer took full advantage and scored. There were a few moments there on Saturday where whenever he got the ball and they were looking to play out, and this is the Phoenix way under Giancarlo Italiano, really suck the team forward up the park and then try and play in behind those spaces and hit them on the counter. But it's just not the same without Alex Paulson in the Phoenix goal. Josh just doesn't have that ability. And every single time he's got the ball at his feet, Like me as a Phoenix fan, I'm panicked. Like I'm wondering what on earth is he going to produce this time? Is it going to be a decent pass or not? So, like, and it's not just his playing out, but sometimes and his decision making is a little bit off. And we saw that Fernando Pinica's headed goal because the ball was delivered into the 6-yard box, and he's made a call early, Josh, to go for the ball, and then he's retracted. He's sort of come away. And so the defenders are in two minds because they've seen or sensed Oluwayemi come for the ball, and then he's gone back. So now the defenders aren't jumping up with Nando. He gets a free header with Phoenix bodies all around him, and Oluwayemi is out of position and isn't able to stop the header. So they've got to try and figure out what is going on with their goalkeeper, quite frankly. Like from your point of view, in your blue and black, what do you think the Phoenix have to do in order to get the W in the third derby, February 22nd?
Well, yeah, I don't know how, like you said, get confidence back into Josh and goal. Is that reps or making saves in the game or being able to play out? Does he play like academy games at some point if there's any midweek games just to keep minutes up and actually be able to play out from the back? I think from my point of view, watching them attack when the Phoenix were attacking, especially in that second half when they were down 1-0, it just felt like they were trying to force a lot that wasn't there. So they were trying to put those balls in the back up behind the Auckland defenders, but there's no one running onto it or they're under hit. Lots of balls I felt like were under hit, which allowed Auckland to just pile on the pressure to anyone who had the ball for the Phoenix. And they just, I feel like there was not a lot going on in the short spaces where they're trying to play out or play within their half and work the ball over halfway. So they'd lob the ball forward and anyone up top just wasn't able to get their hands on it. Not their hands, a chest, bring it down, control the ball and actually continue playing out. It just felt like they were turning the ball over. So we talked about it after the game, the size that the Phoenix have both in the midfield and up top. It's not there like it was last year. And does that help with controlling the ball up top? Yeah, probably. So whether they need someone up top that's a little bit stronger or they need to change their ways that they're trying to go about breaking the team's defense down. But I just felt like they were trying to force a lot that wasn't there. So a change of tactics for me. It might work against other teams. And I mean, they're still a good team. Then they've beaten good teams this way. But maybe it's just against Auckland FC that they need to come to the game with a different tactical play, a different style of football. And it seems the same for every team because no one's been able to beat Auckland FC yet.
Nah. Look, when you look at the Phoenix and what they had last season, in the attacking third, they had Ben Old, who was on fire. Every time you got Ben Old the ball, he would take on a defender, beat him, and either come up with a finish or an assist. Like he played the house down, Ben Old, out on the left hand side. You had Božidar Krajev, who was one of the more creative midfielders as well. So he's working in conjunction with Oldie. And then even though it was limited opportunities for Zavada, there's your big target man up front. And so whenever he was playing, whether it was starting or off the bench, I know his season was interrupted quite massively in the end through injury, but like there's your target man up front. So if you're in trouble in the midfield or in the defensive end, you launch the ball upfield and you've got a guy who can bring it down on his chest and lay it off to Ben Old, Božidar Krajev, Alex Rufer. And they don't have that now, as you point out. Like the size is just, it's almost absent, right? So they've brought in Ishige and Nagasawa. They are diminutive in stature. You're probably thinking, well, the tallest people in the team, Alex Rufer, who's just a little bit taller than me, and I'm not tall by any stretch of the imagination. Scott Wootton, the Walrus, is probably the tallest guy in the squad. But you don't have that height. You don't have that presence up the top end of the park that's really going to worry a defensive side. And when you look at what Auckland FC present in their backline, Nando Pinica, Dan Hall, really strong central defenders, very sizable as well. Sakai and De Vries out on the flanks. They're both pretty big as well. So Yeah, I think Costa Barbarouses was always going to be up against it, playing in that lone striker role. He's best, getting in behind, playing off shoulders, and using his pace, and that's where we saw Auckland concede for the first time late in the second half. But yeah, they're a different team, and we've said this previously over the last couple of weeks, Charlie. They are a different team now. They're playing a different style, and that's going to take some getting used to. Whereas Auckland are a new entity, and so they're playing like this for the very first time. If they lost a bunch of players at the end of the season, then I think Steve Corica would find it quite difficult to find a style of game that would help them be as successful, if that makes sense. Yeah. So the previous experience is sort of like hanging over the Phoenix like a dark cloud. We had this amazing team, we had this amazing season, our best ever. And now we can't quite get to those same dizzying heights because everything's changed. Yeah. Well, not everything. They've still got some like key members, but yeah, it's hard to get back to winning ways when you're playing a different style of football.
Yeah, so like with last season's successes, there's that expectation there for the Phoenix and fans for them to be meeting. But when you lose 50% of your squad and you're trying to bring guys up, it's going to be impossible to play the same style as they did last year. So is it just they just work through it until they find something that works? Both their wingers look very good on the ball. Yeah, they're small, but use their body as well, good skills, pass and move. And I think Barbarouses up top, he's got that feistiness, right? The kind of dog in him to actually get around and do something. He was maybe the one guy I felt when he had the ball, something was going to happen, where I felt the rest of the team, that was almost lacking on Saturday. They were waiting for someone else to do something, or someone else to, play that ball in behind, or someone else to make that run and go and get that finish, where Barbarouses was wanting to be that guy. On the other hand, when Auckland, it feels like anyone on that park is going to be that guy for them to go out and make that big tackle, that big block, and then get the ball forward. Guys storming forward. It felt like on attack they had 10 guys pushing forward, and then if the Phoenix countered, all of a sudden Auckland have 9 guys behind the ball straight away again. So I just felt like they wanted it more, and a little bit of hunger in there, more than the Phoenix squad did.
Yeah, maybe. I can't imagine that the Phoenix wouldn't have wanted it. Like, of course, you go into a game and you want to win, but look, you can't discount the effective 26,000 screaming fans as well, and what that does to the home team. Because with that kind of support behind you, you're going to want to run through a brick wall. And also, I've been quite fascinated in the post-match exchange, if you like, between the two coaches, and how Steve Corica used some of the quotes from Italiano as motivation for the players. He said that Italiano had disrespected Auckland FC and what they've done in the early exchanges of this season. Italiano, I think he had a point, saying that they've had a very soft draw to start the season. Like they've travelled outside of New Zealand once. Yeah. Like that's a pretty easy draw when you think of it. I don't think Italiano meant any disrespect. I think he's just telling the truth. But, Corica, he's framed it a certain way, used it as motivation for his team, and maybe that's why there was a bit more desire, as you saw at Charlie on Saturday.
That's what good coaches do, right? Add fuel to the fire and then just turn it away to motivate the team. I mean, he's not wrong. And you kind of got to set up that schedule for Auckland FC to get off the ground, right? You got to
100%, yeah. So
it all makes sense. It's not really down to Auckland FC's fault that they've had the soft schedule, and they've made the most of it. So fair play to them.
Yeah.
Auckland, obviously they're the team to beat at the moment. Besides them, who's the other team for you? The team to beat? Regarding Auckland.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I still believe, and I still stand by comments I made. I think it's like a 4-team league. Mm-hmm. When Phoenix get themselves sorted, they will be strong, and they'll be there at the pointy end of the competition, even though they've lost to Auckland twice. The other two teams out of Australia that worry me, Sydney FC, and they keep on shooting themselves in the foot. They had a red card against Mariners and lost to the Central Coast 2-1. They had their goalkeeper sent off, and so you obviously got to do a bit of a rejig, get the keeper off the pine, and then take a player off. So they lost that game, and then a couple of weeks before that, they had another red card and lost to, was it MacArthur? So they've left points out there. If they can sort out their discipline, I still think Sydney FC are a team that should be watched. They've got a really strong squad, but the one that is looming large is Melbourne Victory. I think they've only lost one game, and that was to the Wellington Phoenix when Marco Rojas and Costa Barbarouses combined for that awesome goal. But Victory would be the one that Steve Corica would be afraid of the most at the moment. They sit second on the ladder. Adelaide is an interesting case because at the moment they're third on the ladder, and they're the only other team not to have lost a game. But when you sort of dig beneath the surface a little, you find out that Adelaide's position is kind of it's inflated somewhat by the fact that they've played nobody inside the top six in the first 6 weeks of the competition. They've played basically all of the bottom sides and either won or drawn against them. And so at some point, I think it's in January, they'll have a horrible run where they've got to play Auckland and Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City, and that's where they're going to get found out. So yeah, still, like, Melbourne Victory are the team, and they sit in second. And I think, off the top of my head, Charlie, is that the New Year's Day match at Mount Smart Stadium that we were talking about last week? And we're going to try and get a busload of people
down from Northern Base.
Yeah. So that's going to be huge. It's going to be massive, mate. So yeah.
And if they can't get a crowd out to that, because it is January 1st, if there's not going to be 20,000 plus, making the players want to run through a brick wall. It's going to be a tough ask for Auckland. But yeah, you did right. I just checked the odds again for the grand final winner. Victory right at the top, paying $4 as the favourite. Melbourne City, $5.50 in second favourite. And then you go to Sydney and Auckland, both at $6.
Okay.
So they are top four, and Phoenix now in fifth, paying $10. Same with Adelaide, actually, paying $10 as well. So yeah, it seems like the bookies are kind of seeing it as a 4-horse kind of race at the moment after, 7 weeks of football.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose the only one they've got differently there to me is City's in their top four, right? Melbourne City's in the top four, and they've got the Phoenix in fifth. So
yeah,
I mean, I'm biased. I'll always support the black and yellow, and I think that Chiefy will find a way to beat Auckland in the third derby in February. So, well,
they're going to have to, because you don't want to be the team that gets swept in the first derby 3-0. Lots of fans, when we were asking them after the game, they reckon it's going to be another 2-1 affair to Auckland. So the Phoenix have scored. They reckon they'll be able to do it again. But they do think Auckland coming out on top.
The one thing I was surprised by with the fans at the weekend was that I didn't experience a great deal of violence.
You nearly did. I don't know if you saw, but you nearly did.
Well, was this when the bottle was thrown at me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what happened there? Because I just magically caught it in my left arm and then threw it back to where I thought it came from. But
yeah, so it was like a pump bottle that came over. So there's the gap in between the port where the stand kind of splits, and this guy, maybe two of them, were on the other side to what side you were on. And he just tosses the bottle, and it somehow does land in your hands. Did it hit you in the head and in the hands?
Nah, I don't think it hit me in the head. I'm pretty sure it was sort of like it was into the chest, and then I've just cradled it with my left arm.
And then you've got it back and just tossed it back. And I don't think it even hit the guy, but he saw it come his way, and his eyes just straight away was enraged, and he went to go take off to get around the top of the port and get down to you. But one of his mates grabbed him and was like holding him back. But he was just trying to shrug him off. He was all for it, and he was coming your way. And I was just like, oh boy, let's get the haymakers out. What we talked about on Thursday, it's going to come into fruition. We're going to have to do something here.
Yeah, go into the Danielson karate pose, but then just haymakers wildly. No, I mean, look, that was one occasion, and we were there for what, like 3 hours, and everybody was in pretty high spirits, and even after the game, when people were like, exiting the stadium and walking past us, and there I am in my Wellington Phoenix shirt, they were actually pretty decent. There was one idiot who squirted me with a tomato sauce packet. I didn't think that was called for at all. That wasn't on because
Did it get shorts?
What's that?
Did the tomato sauce get on the shorts?
No, not on my shorts. It went on my white shoes and all over my legs.
Not the white shoes.
Yeah, so I don't think it's come out yet, but I haven't even tried wiping them down. But I thought that was a bit out of line, to be honest.
Yeah, but for the most part, the fans were pretty good. And the ones representing the Port and their Auckland FC shirts are all pretty good. The guys who are doing up to stuff is I know the guy that tried to fight you was just in a white t-shirt, so you could say he wasn't even with the Port. He was just there to get aggressive, get angry.
Yeah, he was just an angry guy.
Yeah, just an angry guy, and he was probably steaming as well because it was crate day. So I believe there was probably a few people in there steaming.
Have you ever tried crate day?
No, because I've always had cricket.
Right.
I've never participated in crate day. I have gone to crate days after cricket, which is a terrible experience because you get there at about 6:30.
Can't talk to anyone.
No. It's a wild scene. It's either people are asleep on the grass over in the sun, people on beanbags, probably some leftover food on the barbecue, and half a crate gone for everyone. So it's not too fun of experience to rock up to. But no, I've never attempted it myself. Have you?
Yeah, I tried it once a long time ago. Me and like 3 other mates, and we each had a crate, and I got through all but one. And then for some reason, we thought it'd be a really good idea to go to town afterwards. Okay. And we jumped in the taxi, head to our favourite bar back then. And I finally got to the front of the bar to order my next drink and realised I could not speak anymore. And so I just turned around, walked out, literally got in the same taxi that I arrived in, and he took me back to where I came from. So, yeah, it's just a huge volume of liquid as well. Like, forget about the fact that it's alcoholic beverage, but like in a crate, it's, what is it, like 9 litres of beer?
It's a lot. And
That's a lot.
And it's filling, right? Like the beers, you just feel so bloated.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not like you're just downing RTDs or soft drinks. Like you're feeling bloated. It's like a full meal, a full course meal.
Yeah, 9 litres of beer. It's not for me. I know a guy who did a crate day. I think it was more than a decade ago, and he did a crate, no joke, in less than an hour.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's serious work. That's impressive stuff. How was he after? Did you find out from your mate that knows the mate?
I think he was largely unaffected.
He just got on to the next one.
Yeah. Just open up the next crate, peel off the cardboard, and get going again.
Like, there's the guys that are struggling with their crate. You going to finish that one, mate? Oh, yeah.
He's licking his lips. He's still thirsty. How can you be? 9 litres, mate.
It's a lot of work. Anyway, let's stay on football now. We'll go to the Premier League. The Merseyside derby was the big one, last one ever, and you had a bet on it for Liverpool to win their 100th game. You would have got your money back because Old Storm, how do you pronounce it? Darragh?
Dara?
Okay.
I think Dara.
No, you don't pronounce the GH at the end?
I don't think so.
Storm Darragh took over.
Yeah. I saw some vision from like a lower league match that they still played it. Some guy's trying to take a corner and the ball just keeps on rolling away. And he's like stopping it, pulling it back, put it in the corner, and it rolls out again. Must have done it about 7 times. Then the referee comes over and he's like, "Come on, take the corner already."
What do you got, mate? Come on.
I'm trying. So I can understand why they postponed the game.
Yeah. Well, it looked terrible. I mean, there was a whole bunch of flooding and everything going on. The waves looked massive, so I don't blame them. Do you know when they've rescheduled it for?
Oh, I haven't seen that. Nah. But at some point, I'm very keen to rip into that same bet. Liverpool to win, Mo Salah to score, and it'll happen.
Get their 100th
win number 100. Yeah.
So it kind of actually worked in your favour. I mean, you get an extra break to rest up your players. Man City drop points. Arsenal drop points. So the real winners coming from, what was it, match week 14? Liverpool, I guess, and Chelsea.
So yeah. When it wasn't looking likely for Chelsea against Tottenham off to a fast start, and then I guess all roads lead to Cole Palmer, eh? So he's in some pretty exceptional form. And you've got to wonder where Chelsea would be without Cole Palmer.
That's the interesting thing, eh? If Cole Palmer goes down for 6 to 8 weeks, I was going to ask you, are Chelsea the biggest threat to Liverpool's titles race? From my point of view, it seems like it could be, but Cole Palmer is the big factor in that. And if he disappears or maybe drops off of form or gets a wee injury niggle and can't play, I don't know what that Chelsea team looks like.
Yeah. Oh, look, I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? Chelsea's in second. They are in behind Liverpool. They've got to be the biggest threat. But I still think Arsenal are there or thereabouts. And I'm never ever going to write off Manchester City as well. I think it's the top four. Those will be the teams that decide the Premier League, the fate of it, if you like. Nottingham Forest in fifth. I think at some point the form will drop away, and we've kind of already seen that over the last couple of weeks because they faced Arsenal, lost 3-0. They faced City, lost there. So up against the upper echelon teams outside of Liverpool, who they went to Anfield and beat, like their form hasn't been compelling. So it's one of Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City that will test Liverpool. It's got to be, mate.
Yeah, and Spurs have fallen down to they're in the bottom half of the league now. So United. So you've got the likes of Brighton and those clubs kind of sitting in around with Nottingham 5 to 10 marks. I think the top four is pretty settled, but I am interested in what Chelsea will do if they're Cole Palmerless, because I don't know if you've seen, but one of the Premier League writers is comparing him to Lionel Messi.
Yeah, and not just one of the writers, but I think Gary Lineker also poured some gasoline on that same fire by saying that the assist that he came up with for one of the Chelsea goals against Tottenham was Messi-esque. And look, admittedly, it was really impressive work. He's got 3 or 4 defenders around him on that right wing side, and he's doing soul rolls and cutbacks and faking crosses, and he had them mesmerized. So I can understand in that moment how he may have looked like Lionel Messi, but he doesn't have the career of the great Argentine, does he? Someone who's won 8 Ballon d'Ors over 3 decades. Like, come on. I think it's a bit early. And, some people made the comparison a couple of years ago between Thierry Henry and Newcastle United's Alexander Isak. And there are moments where Isak looks like he moves similarly to Thierry Henry, but is he the equal of the great Frenchman? Absolutely not. It's just in these little moments where they kind of emulate flashes, right? They emulate the greats of the game. If Cole Palmer does this for another 10 years, cool, let's talk about it. But I think just in these little flashes, you can't say like all of a sudden he's the next Messi.
Yeah, I mean, it's the twisting and turning and all that Messi-like moves that he was doing to then set up the assist, and it's the fact that he's winning them games, right? We talked about. Well, I kind of said Auckland had those guys who want to go out there and be that guy. Cole Palmer is that guy for Chelsea. He wants all that pressure. He now has the record for the most amount of penalties scored in a row in the Premier League without missing. And he does his little shiver, the cold shiver. What do you think of the cold shiver?
Well, I mean, it's all he's got really outside of his footballing ability. And he's one hell of a footballer, obviously, but off the field, maybe this is what makes him such a great player. There's not a lot going on upstairs.
I've thought that exactly.
Yeah, like he's able to just play the game because there's not much going on up here. Yep. He's not distracted, and that definitely comes through in his pre or post match chats because he's not offering a great deal. Like I think about when I tried to play football and badly many years ago, I was easily distracted because I had so much going on in my brain. I'm not saying that I'm like Einstein or anything like that, but
numbers through my brain all the time as it's not stopping.
Like I'd be so easily distracted. Like I'd be listening to John Bon Jovi on the way to the ground, and then I'd just be like singing songs in my head when I should be focusing on where my positioning on the park or winning the ball or distributing it to my teammates, and I'm singing in my head. We're halfway there, living on a prayer.
Yeah. I think with Cole Palmer, it's someone I saw somewhere that he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't understand it, but he just doesn't feel the pressure because he doesn't think about the pressure. Like it's not actually clicking upstairs that this is a pressure moment. If I miss this, like what's going to happen? He just steps up and he's like, "Oh yeah, another penalty, bang!" Doesn't think about it.
All right, might just chip this one over the goalkeeper. No worries.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous, and I have thought that he seems like a bit of a space cadet off the field, but his football IQ is off the charts, and he's just balling out like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
So, and then
what a way to be.
He also, I don't know if have you seen his photos from it might have been the Euros with the English camp, or maybe in his Chelsea kit for the kit reveals. He looks like an idiot. he just looks like there's nothing going on upstairs. But
look, appearances can be deceiving, mate.
Yeah. So I don't know. He's a very memeable character. There's definitely a few memes coming from him. End of the month. Who was your player of the month? There were 8 nominees. I won't go through them all, but we'll just see who your player of the month was for the month of November. Chris Wood was the player of the month for October. Has he done enough for you in November to keep it going, or are you going elsewhere?
I'm going Mo Salah. I think he played 3 Premier League games. He won them all. He scored 4 goals, 1 assist. I don't think you can ask for too much more than that. I know that you had a couple of Arsenal players nominated in there. I think it was Odegaard and Saka. Would you go Arsenal players, or do you think that Salah's got it all wrapped up?
No, I was thinking Salah as well. I think Odegaard, great case for unlocking Arsenal. When he came back, I talked about how he just opens it up for Saka and they just kind of work together. But we haven't had the results that Liverpool has had, and Mo Salah's impact in those results, you can't deny that. So for me, it was Mo Salah as well, just what he's doing for Liverpool. They're top of the league, they're dominating teams, and he is a big part of the reason why.
Yeah.
So, that was nice and easy.
Yeah, that was slick. We can almost move on to the next part, mate.
Well,
no debate whatsoever.
We've just got a couple sports to wrap up. Well, I talked about UFC 310 over the weekend. Shak Rachmanov. I always get that wrong, but he I
wonder why.
His winning streak. He is now 19-0, being Ian Gary, who was 15-0. He's now 15-1, but he was a big time favorite and got a bit squeaky bum time in the 5th round when he was in a rear naked choke, almost being tapped out, but managed to fight his way out of it. It was the last pay-per-view event of the year, so, and I know you're not massive into your UFC, so let's go anyone that you want to see. If you were to match up the first pay-per-view of 2025, what's one fight you'd like to see? Celebs, anyone's on the card.
Celebs.
You can do anything. Yourself?
I never ever want to fight. I never ever want to fight. This is topical. Could be a little bit controversial. But you did say celebrity, so let's have Puff Daddy, P Diddy, Sean Combs, go up against Jay-Z as he fights to clear his name.
Okay, so there's more on it than just honor. You fight to clear your name.
Either that, or did you? We were talking about Gladiator, the movie, but did you ever watch American Gladiators when you were a kid?
No.
Okay, so American Gladiators, it was like you'd take these two guys and two girls, just regular Joes, and they would go up against the gladiators in different games. And one of the games, I think, was called the Gauntlet. And so regular Joe, old Charlie Wilson, lines up in the gauntlet, this narrow sort of, it's almost like a half pipe type thing. And you've got to run past and defeat, I think it was 5 different gladiators to get to the end.
Yeah.
And maybe P. Diddy could like run the gauntlet against all the celebrities that are like, they've been tarred by the P. Diddy brush.
That's a long gauntlet. A big gauntlet to run.
He'll be running all of 2025.
And at the end is just another Diddy party.
Yeah. He dives into like a pool of baby oil.
Oh, no, that he's got from Costco.
Well, you've got to buy in bulk, right? So that's why you've got 1,000 bottles of the stuff.
Got to buy it in bulk. Okay, so P. Diddy versus Jay-Z in the Octagon. And then if he comes out of that, he's got to run the gauntlet.
That's right, yeah.
And so that's instead of running a trial that runs all of 2025, the gauntlet just is all of 2025.
Yeah. It's either P. Diddy versus the celebrities trying to clear their name or P. Diddy versus the feds.
Oh, P. Diddy versus the feds could be a good one. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Other stuff, I just saw Messi is now being sued by Logan Paul and KSI. Have you seen that?
No.
You know who Logan Paul and KSI are?
Those the guys behind Prime. Is it like an energy drink or just a fizzy drink?
Hydration drink. So Messi has Mars, I guess that's how you say it, Mars, MAS Plus, and is branded fairly similar to Prime. I saw that this morning. So they're going after Lionel Messi for copyright issues, I believe.
Okay.
And then,
what do you think about that though? Because I feel like these influencer types, they just go after the big dog to just further feather their own nest. Do you know what I mean? Like we saw Logan's brother Jake was going up against Mike Tyson, and like if he's fighting Charlie Wilson, no one gives a toss. Maybe. But if he's fighting the big dog that was Mike Tyson, then people take an interest. So of course these guys are going to go after Lionel Messi because he's the biggest and best footballer on the planet. You get what I'm saying? I
do, and I think it's part of their master marketing. Like these guys know how to market themselves and sell their products. So it's I don't know what comes out of it, but check out the photo because they do look very similar. And Prime came first, Messi's has come second. So they might have a case. No lawyer out here, but
you're not.
And then my favorite time of the week was yesterday. The Chiefs, Kansas City Chiefs, won again. They are now 12-1 in the NFL. Their 15th, 16th game, they've won in a row by one score or less. They actually hit the uprights on a field goal to win. And then I go straight to Instagram, straight to Twitter, and just see all the haters crying about the Chiefs winning again, how it's all rigged, what sort of black magic they're using. Are they sacrificing live chickens in the changing room? All that sort of stuff. And it just makes me happy.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, so I feel like that's the sports wrapped up. I've got one question for you, the group chat question of the week. So today, sticking with NFL, the Dallas Cowboys take on the Cincinnati Bengals in prime time on ESPN. It's being filmed as normal. On ESPN2, they're doing an alternate broadcast live from Springfield. So it's all going to be animated as Simpsons characters. So Joe Burrow is going to be a Simpsons character, his own take of a Simpsons character. The Cowboys, they're all it's just in Springfield. So it's pretty cool. I'm going to tune into it. You get to choose a sport or a video or a team in a matchup, and you can choose a show or video for it to take after. What would you kind of do as your version of this?
Okay. Well, as you know, I'm a massive rugby league fan. I'd like to see the NRL Grand Final crossover with Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because there are so many characters in the Dragon Ball Z universe. So you could easily fill 2 teams of 13 for an NRL Grand Final. And maybe you wouldn't have like Nathan Cleary against Jerome Hughes. You just have, they would become Vegeta and Goku, and and then all of a sudden in the dying stages of the game, you've got Mr. Popo lining up a conversion to win the game. Like, it would just be magical. So yeah, I'm going DBZ versus NRL grand final for. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool. What about you, man? Have you got any ideas?
I've gone Champions League final in the South Park universe.
Timmy with the header nods home. Launches himself out of the wheelchair.
I think that would be unreal. And then just to hear them talking about the different players, like imagine them just going like, this Mbappe guy, he's shit. As he misses a penalty to win the Champions League final, and someone's up in the commentary box and they're just ripping out Mbappe, but it's your South Park characters.
Yeah.
So that's my shout. I think Champions League final in the South Park universe for me.
Yeah, two good options. And I think, did I see that, because, I'm not the biggest NFL fan, but they have done something similar to the Simpsons thing before. They had a Toy Story effort, if you like, and that looked pretty cool.
Toy Story, and it must have worked pretty well. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it again with the Simpsons one. So I'm excited to see what the Simpsons one brings this afternoon.
Yeah, well, you enjoy that, mate, and hopefully at some point in the future we can see the South Park Dragon Ball Z stuff come to life as well.
We keep getting all these good ideas. I got to start writing them down, and we can just go and pitch them somewhere later down the future when we get around. Well,
you're just too busy, mate, because you got this gig with Betcha, you're a lawyer on the side, and then you can't be expected to just write down all of our fantastic ideas. Maybe I should do something.
We could be a bit of an entrepreneur, and you take it forward, and I'll back you. I'll bring the support and the backings.
Yeah, I've got the incredible support of Charlie Wilson behind me. This idea cannot fail.
Yeah. Everything that I bring to the table, you just pop that there and be like, "This is what I've got. This is our idea. Make it happen."
Let's go.
Alrighty, thank you for joining once again. We'll be back on Thursday to run through the weekend, hopefully pick some more winners. But until then, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.